One of the biggest actors right now have been tied to reports saying that they have been cast in the MCU, and we have other reports indicating which character Jenna Ortega will be playing for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome back to Cosmic Culture, the channel where we talk all things major movie and television news, theories, breakdowns, and much more. I'm your host Chris, and as I mentioned, we will be diving into Jenna Ortega and the new reports surrounding her and a character who she'll be playing for the Daredevil Born Again series. If you're not familiar with Jenna Ortega by name, she is the main character in Wednesday. She plays Wednesday. She'll also be showing up in Scream 6 very soon, and has been all over the map for her high-quality acting and likable personality. So it's exciting to hear that she might be headed over to the MCU playing White Tiger. If you haven't already, consider subscribing and turning on that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of our other major movie and television news updates happening daily here on the channel. You can also follow me on my other socials, Instagram at Chris M. Rosser and Twitter at TheCultureChris. Links to both of those can be found in the description down below. So the reports are Jenna Ortega is joining the MCU and she'll be playing White Tiger in the Daredevil series. These are just rumors and reports. Obviously, a lot of them are proven to be true, and usually they come from some type of insider. But keep in mind as we go through the report that it is a report. Nothing here is confirmed by Marvel, by Disney, or by Jenna Ortega herself. But let me know if Jenna Ortega were to join the MCU, what role you would love to see her play. And in this video, we'll dive into a little bit more about White Tiger if you aren't familiar with who she is. But first off, let's talk about the several reports that there are out there. Originally, this report seems to have started with Deadline, so a big production, who say, simply, Jenna Ortega has reportedly been cast in Daredevil Born Again for a major role. But we then jump over to Giant Freaking Robot, who many people know from Twitter and their website as well, who claim a little further that the role of Ava Alea, who is known as White Tiger, would be played by the actress Jenna Ortega. So this puts that original report from Deadline that she'll be in Born Again, the Daredevil series with 18 episodes, and connects her to the character White Tiger. Now, it's possible, unless you're very familiar with the comics, that you've never heard of White Tiger before, especially if the majority of your Marvel knowledge and viewership goes towards the Marvel Cinematic Universe and other movies. Now, White Tiger is newer in the Marvel world, coming out in 2011, making her original comic book debut. But there's something interesting, and this comes directly from the Marvel database. So this isn't anybody else's words, this is directly from Marvel, the way they describe her in her original bio. They say she becomes an avatar of the White Tiger god and acquires incredible powers, but she eventually breaks free of its influence to forge her own path as a hero. So Marvel uses the word avatar here. Now, there's really only one connection we immediately make, and that is Moon Knight. They started using the word avatar to describe humans who have been selected by gods or greater powers to represent them on the planet Earth. So there's immediate connection to Moon Knight, the gods that are using avatars on the planet Earth, and tying different parts, different corners of the MCU together. I think it would be safe to say that Moon Knight's sitting more on the supernatural side of the MCU, Midnight Suns, darker, creepier, magical things. And then Daredevil, where White Tiger, Jenna Ortega's supposed character, is meant to show up, is on the Street Fighter side of things. And by that I mean a little bit more normalcy. We're talking Echo, Kate Bishop, hopefully Spider-Man, maybe Hawkeye. She-Hulk was wrapped up with Daredevil, so maybe you would expect her to be down there as well. But it's a little bit more local, and based off of what we know, eventually those people will be going up against Kingpin, who will be the big bad of the corner that is the street fighting MCU. And we're all dying to see Peter Parker involved with Kingpin, and since Spider-Man No Way Home and his entire identity being reduced to basically nothing outside of Spider-Man, well, it would make a lot more sense for him to become a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man and maybe revert back to some smaller crime fighting. Not necessarily, up in space fighting Thanos on a different planet. But that initial bio from Marvel is very intriguing and definitely had me thinking, well, there's a cool connection to Moon Knight. We can go further into the character, and it says this on Marvel's database. Proud of her family's legacy as bearers of jade amulets of power, Ava takes up the White Tiger mantle without hesitation. Inspired by her older brother who dedicated his life to helping people, she does the same and joins the respected ranks of the mighty Avengers and even Heroes for Hire. Now that is her background in the comics, and I'm very curious to see how they fit her into the MCU. We get more information about White Tiger based off of her relationship with her older brother Hector, who used ancient amulets to become the White Tiger. When she inherits the amulets after his death, Ava takes up the mantle with pride and vows to remain a protector of the people. Her story then goes in a lot of different directions, but what I really want to focus on and make clear is the relationship between her and the White Tiger god, which initially she thinks to be very toxic, that the White Tiger is trying to get her to kill herself or to do bad things, very similarly to what we saw with Moon Knight. Yet again, the clearest and most obvious connection for us to make is that of Moon Knight, because it's very, very similar story. An avatar for a god. She doesn't necessarily understand it. The difference here, though, however, is that when we saw with Moon Knight that there were multiple personalities and it was a disorder that Steven had, it ultimately will be a little different because this is something kind of like what we see with the Bloodstones. It's a heritage, it's a duty passed down from bloodline to destroy monsters. This is what we saw with the Bloodstone. And the way that they introduced all of that monster side of the MCU is very exciting. But this is similar here in that sense that it is an amulet that her brother used to use to retain the power of the White Tiger. He's passed, and she now has to develop A, relationship with the White Tiger, and then B, her own kind of identity within that use. Now, one of the big questions is, where does White Tiger fit into Daredevil Born Again? Sounds like she'd be better suited for Moon Knight Season 2, or maybe even a different Werewolf by Night storyline. Not so much the Street Fighter's Daredevil. But in the comics, she's actually best associated with the Mighty Avengers and the Defenders, which, of course, as we know from all of the Netflix shows and, of course, the comics as well, Daredevil is very heavily associated with the Defenders as well. And we even have recent rumors that say the Punisher will be coming back, Jessica Jones will be coming back, and even that they'll be retaining the actors who played them in the Netflix series in either explaining a hard reboot or variants. However, MCU decides to go ahead and explain those actors reprising these roles now in the MCU, especially since in the past the Netflix series weren't connected. But regardless, the addition of White Tiger, especially if it's played by Jenna Ortega, is something that will enhance the story and certainly put some very interesting question marks and connection pieces for other realms of the MCU, like the Mystic side or like the Monster side, and I'm excited for that all around. But let me know what you guys think about this report in the comments section down below. Is this a role you'd like to see Jenna Ortega play? Do you have a better idea for this actor? Let me know your thoughts down below. As always, thank you to everybody who watched to the very end of the video. If you found it helpful, useful, or entertaining, consider subscribing and turning on that notification bell. And I'll be sure to catch all of you guys in the next one right here on Cosmic Culture.